Edge of Eternity spoilers are cool and all, but the biggest news so far is definitely this. As long as it's legendary and has a power and toughness, it can be a commander. Not sure about you, but the moment I read this, I knew which one I was building. But first, let's break the ice. My name is Jin, and this is Next Level Commander. Please subscribe if you like Magic and Commander. That's all I do. And now, let's introduce our commander. Buckle up, fellow captains. No, seriously, buckle up. Because the RMS Titanic is our ship. Insurance fraud is the game, and in this case, our opponents are the space icebergs, I guess. We be crashing into them for unsinkable wealth, which brings us closer to our end goal. More crashing. Seems good. Looking at this ship, we have some work to do. I mean, it's got the best evasions, and 7 power is the magical number, yes. The crashing part makes it slightly more difficult, but we'll figure something out. It also generates a ton of resource, which we can build around. And whenever you build around something, we have to make sure it happens as consistently as possible. We must crash and burn. I see now we're on the same page of the insurance document. We have a very fraudulent 10 minutes coming up. But before we go anywhere, we need some pilots. The hiring criteria is simple, 3 power or bigger, and as felonious as possible. Foundry Inspector is our primary candidate. Not only does it single-handedly cruise the ship, it also allows us to cheap out on the construction. I mean, on a mission where failure is success, cutting corners is a must. Scrap Trawler, we might not have as many large artifacts to recur the Titanic itself with, but the boatload of other artifacts getting scrapped over and over should make this an all-star anyways. Magus of the Wheel will be seeing tons of wheels in this deck, but one that can also hold the wheel is an easy include. Treasure Nabber. Let's just say what we borrow for the day might end up getting melted down into, I don't know, another Titanic. Kazoo, our opponents might get suspicious and send in some creatures to see what's going on. Let's just say the investigation will be ogre real fast. Ingenious Artillerists turns our payout into artillery. Game will be over quick with this one out. Hellkite Courser, dragging our ship out of the junkyard and cruise it with haste. Perfect mid-game pilot choice. Zenith Chronicler, yeah, we're pretty desperate for card draw. This does help our opponents sometimes, but I'm sure we can use the cards better with how much mana we're making. Crypto Thrall, our game plan does hinge a fair bit on our Titanic connecting, so a 3 power static protection option is always good. Scrapwater, if you think we can't get away with more bamboozling, surprise, we can. Insurance companies hate this one trick. If we read the fine print correctly, we see that Titanic's ability doesn't say if you do. So in response to the trigger, we can sacrifice it to something else, Scrapwater for example, and still get the payout. Eldrazi Linebreaker, crewing our ship and giving it haste, and a +1 to boot. Just make sure you crew before entering combat, or Titanic isn't a valid target. Sibylline Soothsayer, a nice early 3-drop that brings something larger on later turns. Good value. Sunset Strike Master helps cast Titanic on turn 3 and cruise it on turn 4. Sold. Grabby Giant. Like Sunset Strike Master, getting this in the opening hand means we'll be attacking with Titanic on turn 4, the latest. And after that, we can convert our treasures into cards. Expensive, but can definitely be relevant. Lorraine, as we mentioned earlier, we might have some trouble defending ourselves, so gold is pretty clutch here, diverting our opponent's biggest creatures into each other while we continue with our ship smuggling business. That's worth sacrificing a few treasures for. Farid, artifacts will come and go in this deck a lot, and we'll get a ton of scraps, which we can use to turn into loot or do more golding. Urabrask the Hidden, expensive, but creatures that can crew and give haste are far and few between. Also, just look at him sneaking in the furnace rooms, definitely passes the fraud test. Another all-star is Quicksmith Genius. Our guy is responsible for driving and the looting when it all goes down in flames. Skyfire Phoenix, the most resilient of them all. Don't matter if it's dead, as long as we put Titanic onto the stack, whether it's from our hand, command zone, or anywhere else, the Phoenix will be there to ignite the engines. Now we have a few more crew members that aren't quite there in physique, but more than makes up for it in malevolence. They're not driving the ship alone, but can definitely work together, or recruit the help of some lands, I guess. Crime Novelist will help double our prize money by publishing chronicles of our heist. Professional Facebreaker turns our treasures and our opponent's broken noses into more cards. Silent Arbiter keeps the traffic slow for only the most important creatures, or ships. Mishra and the Mirrors help ramp out our commander. Magda functions a bit like a mirror in the early game, but later can also provide tons of utility. Liberator Urza's Battlethopter protects our ship from sorcery speed removals, and giving half our deck flash just It's just too good to pass up. Okay, now that we have our ship crewed, we need to begin the crashing. No, not next turn, immediately. We can't risk our ship being target practice for our opponents. Oh yeah, also we need some protection spells just to be double sure. And if our opponents somehow have large flying blockers, because I mean Dragon's been popular these days, not sure why, well, we crash into the vulnerable ones first. But cards like Chandra's Ignition and Nebelheim Flame should also help clear the way when push comes to shove. Alright, we're going in. Look out, it's raining insurance money. Once we get the payout, we need to cash it in, and we'll always need more cards to set up for the next operation. I don't usually play wheels, but I think they're needed here, and thanks to the abundance of mana, Sandstone Oracle, and even Kozilek itself isn't too far-fetched. And now we have the crew, the funds, and intel. We aim to crash again and again until there's nothing left to crash into. Duretti is the go-to guy for restoration, and I just went to their EDH rec page and found some refurbishing tools. Trust for Treasure, Goblin Welder, Scarecrow, and Nim Death Mantle. Or alternatively, with some Ice Cold Sleight of Hand, we can rescue the ship just after it does damage to the iceberg, but just before it takes repercussion damage. Let that sink in. I can't tell you how it works, but I know Isaac Newton is rolling in his grave. In Space Magic, there are no rules. Actually, Voyager Staff does it even better, and will be an all-star in this deck with all the artifact recursion. Meanwhile, we can also head to the trading post to exchange some extra pilots for the ship back. It's great. Or start a little revolution where we beat people up for not letting us retrieve our Titanic. And now that we got our host covered, it's time to go above and beyond. Why settle for 7 when it can be 14 or 28 if we take a small detour to Magical Christmas Land? The other palm spells are not as good, but the magical number here is 4, making our ship a 2-hit kill on even the toughest icebergs. Throw in some protection spell and other utility, and we have a deck. Now, in its core, this is a mono-red artifacts deck, somewhat similar to the Duretti lists, but our commander serves as a value engine and the win condition. We're dedicating a lot of resources to push it through, but the reward is fairly reasonable. This list is mid-budget and mid-high complexity to play, but just think of the fraud jokes and Titanic puns you can make. Alright, this is Jin with Next Level Commander. If you like this kind of content, subscribe for more, because I know this won't be the only vehicle commander I'll be building. See you soon. Thanks for watching.
They offered me so much money.